Hey guys, and today on Face Off we are going to be asking the question, which season is more underrated? Season 17 or season 18, or they're both bad? So I put this poll up and it was up for about 3 days, and in that time we had 101 votes. And 62% said season 18 was the most underrated, with 31% saying season 17 and 7% saying they were both bad. So season 18 basically winning by a 2-to-1 vote over season 17. Now for me, this is really hard to choose, which is one of the reasons why I created this poll, because I like the idea of talking about one that if it's hard for me to make up my mind, it's probably hard for other people to do the same. And I like the idea of something like this, questions like this, where I really struggle to answer and really make me think. That fascinates me. The interesting thing about season 17 and season 18 is that they are so drastically different. Like, they are way different, especially in tone. The tone is just way different, almost polar opposites. I don't know if there are two consecutive seasons of Doctor Who that are more different than these two. They are so different from each other. You almost are surprised it's the same Doctor, because even the fourth Doctor himself is very different in the two seasons. And you get this impression that in universe, there is a long period of time between season 17 and season 18. That a lot of time has passed between the end of Shada and the beginning of the Leisure Hive. And that kind of makes sense to me, because I remember Tom Baker saying he's like 750 something in his run, and then I think Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy talk about being in their 900s. So I like to think that the Doctor and Romana traveled for probably 100, 150 years together. And that would explain why the Doctor's personality is a little more somber, a little different. It would explain why the Time Lords are ready to go ahead and have Romana come back. Hey, you've been gone for a while, come on back in. And why Romana is so reluctant to go back, because she's been traveling with the Doctor for 100, 150 years. She likes it at this point. She doesn't want to go back to that. And why the Doctor, instead of being his more upbeat season 17 self, is like, you can't fight Time Lords, Romana. You did once and lost, So I like that idea of there being a gap between them. And they're very different stories. They have a very different feel to them. You can tell it's a whole new team taking over. It's like moving from Series 4 to Series 5 in Modern Who. It's very different. And I like both seasons. It's really hard, because the question isn't which one do I like best. It's which one do I think is the most underrated. And those are different questions. And it's really hard, because I feel like season 17 and season 18 are both underrated. But I feel like season 17 gets crapped on more than season 18 these days. So I'm not sure if season 18, if the opinion of it is here, and I think it's here, is that more or less than if people think 17 is down here, and I think it's here. I mean, it would be hard for me to pick which one I like best, even if that was the question, which one do you like the best? It would be hard for me to pick at this point. And a part of that is because they're so different. They're so different. And they both have stories I really enjoy. Season 17 doesn't have any stories I dislike. I like all of them. I actually think Creature, Nightmare, and Horns are all underrated. They're all good stories in their own right for different reasons. And in season 18, the only story I don't really like is The Leisure Hive, but it's still watchable. I mean, I can sit through it and not feel like I'm wasting my time. I think it's a bad story, but it's watchable bad. It's not Power of Prowl bad. The only Tom Baker story I just can't get through is Power of Prowl. That's the only one I think is utter garbage, at least from what I've seen. And I've seen all of them except Invisible Enemy. But season 18 also has 7 stories. The other 6 stories I think are good to one degree or another. So each season has 6 stories I like. So I can't really decide which one I think is the most underrated, because they're just so different, even to the point to where Tom Baker and the Fourth Doctor are so drastically different. Now, they all have stuff I like season 17, Destiny of the Daleks, while being not the best Dalek story in the world, has a strong rewatchability. I rewatched that last week. I could watch it again tomorrow. I don't know why, but I always enjoy a rewatch of it. City of Death, amazing. Creature, underrated, because people base its whole reputation off one or two unfortunate scenes with some bad creature design, and maybe some bad acting from the bandits. But it's very underrated and got some good scenes in it, including that one 7-minute scene I've raved about before. Nightmare of Eden, good for the most part, underrated, especially with the updated effects. Horns of Nimon, if you go into it expecting Genesis of the Daleks or Heaven Sent, you will be disappointed. But if you go into it, especially having seen it before, just for some silly pantomime fun, it's very enjoyable. And another one I like to rewatch. And of course, Shada, now that we have Shada completed, is an epic series finale. Or season finale, I should say. It's an epic season finale. There's a lot going on in it, and it's really, really good. And then in season 18, okay, Let Your Hive's not great, but it's watchable. Meglos, criminally underrated, to the point it needs to be longer. Its ending is too abrupt. It needed to be 5 or 6 parts. Other than that, really good. And the only story where the main character has played a doppelganger where it makes sense, besides Journey's End, where it also makes sense why there's 2 doctors running around. This is the only time where the main character has been playing the Doctor and someone besides the Doctor, where it actually makes sense to the plot of the story and it's not just a coincidence, which is the reason why I like Meglos better than The Massacre, even though I've never heard it, and better than Enemy of the World, even though I like Enemy of the World. I just think Meglos, I like it better because it actually makes sense why that's happening, or why Tom Baker's playing 2 people. Full Circle's good. State of Decay is a masterpiece. I love State of Decay. State of Decay is almost flawless. The resolution at the end with how they stop the King Vampire, the special effect on that's a bit naffed. That's really the only thing I hold against it. And it makes up for it with how the 3 meet their end. That effect is actually really, really good. Not just for Classic Who, but in general, it looks really good. So it kind of makes up for it. It is the masterpiece of season 18 for me. I love that story. I can always go back and rewatch it. And then we have Warrior's Gate, which is really good. I enjoy Warrior's Gate. It has a unique look to it. I love the visual style it's executed in. Warrior's Gate is definitely a story that's going to look very different depending on what decade it's made in. So it's nice to see how the 80s realized it, and they pull that off really well. My only issue with it would probably be some of the human characters in it are two-dimensional. Some of the people from the ship, they are a bit two-dimensional, especially the captain. Other than that, really good story. And then I like Keeper of Traken a lot. That is easily my favorite performance from Anthony Ainley when he plays Tremas. It's just so good and so more tragic when Tremas meets the fate he meets, which is something I wish Doctor Who had played more with. It never really does play with the fact that anytime we see Anthony Ainley's master, he is, looking out through the eyes of a dead man, a man whose body he stole. They never really do anything with that, where I feel the modern series would, especially with Nyssa there. They really could have done more with that. I'm always disappointed they didn't. But I like Keeper of Traken. It's a really good story. And then Legopolis is good. Not great, but good. A decent to good send-off for the 4th Doctor. He does kind of save most of the universe, but not as good as I would have liked, I think, but still good. So I can't really, honestly, pick which one I think is underrated. I'm not 100% certain. I love both of them for very different reasons. Even though they're very different, they both have good stories that I enjoy. And that's my thoughts on that. And that's why I did that one, because I was trying to really wrap my head around that question, and I find I still can't answer it. So I would like to know, what do you think, if you haven't voted in the poll already? Which story do you think is underrated? Which one do you prefer of the two? Which one do you think is better? Other things to do: click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon if you like what I do and would like to support what I do. There is a link to that down in the description as well. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, the 5th Doctor and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their support, as I appreciate the support of all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box. If there's anything you would like to send me, Doctor Who related, sci-fi related, or otherwise, that's down in the description as well, as is a link to my Amazon wish list, which I have updated recently. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.